Nigeria just watched the 2026 World Cup begin without them, for the second tournament in a row. A country blessed with talents like Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Alex Iwobi, and several other players competing at some of Europe's biggest clubs was forced to watch from home. And somewhere in Turkey, a 32-year-old striker who had just finished as the top scorer in an entire league won a domestic cup and attracted a transfer bid worth 20 million euros that his club turned down. His name is Paul Onuachu. And despite everything he has achieved throughout his career, very few people were interested in hearing what he had to say. To understand why, you have to go back to a small town in Owerri, Nigeria. It's 2012. Onuachu is still a teenager. At 6'7", he stands out immediately. Center backs look small beside him. His frame is impossible to ignore. At the time, FC Midtjylland were building a reputation as one of the smartest, data-driven clubs in football. They weren't just scouting players, they were searching for specific profiles and patterns. Their network eventually led them to a young striker from an affiliate club called Abede, a player whose goal-scoring numbers were catching attention for all the right reasons. Most people had never heard of him. Midtjylland offered him a scholarship and flew him to Denmark. He was only 17 years old and leaving Nigeria for the first time in his life. What followed wasn't an overnight success story. In fact, it would take years before people outside Scandinavia started getting attention. At Midtjylland, Onuachu learned the fundamentals of European football. His movement improved, his positioning improved. He learned how to use his height as a weapon rather than simply relying on it. Gradually, he developed into one of the most dangerous forwards in Denmark. He won league titles, he won domestic cups, he earned his first senior appearances for Nigeria. Then, in 2019, Genk paid 6 million euros to bring him to Belgium. And if Denmark was where he learned his craft, Belgium was where everything clicked. The 2020-21 season changed the trajectory of his career. Paul Onuachu scored 33 league goals in 38 matches. Not across all competitions, not including cup games, just league football. To this day, that remains the highest goal-scoring total recorded in a Belgian Pro League season during the 21st century. He finished 8 goals clear of the next highest score. He won the Golden Boot. He was named Belgian Player of the Year. He helped Genk lift the Belgian Cup. By virtually every measure, it was one of the most dominant individual seasons produced by a striker anywhere in Europe during that period. Naturally, transfer interest followed. Premier League clubs started looking. West Ham were linked. Teams from Spain monitored the situation. For a moment, it felt like the move to one of Europe's biggest leagues was inevitable. But it never happened. Instead, Onuachu stayed at Genk. And then he did something that should have made even more people pay attention. He scored 23 league goals the following season. The problem wasn't his output. The problem was that the conversation surrounding Nigerian strikers had already moved somewhere else. It had become the Victor Osimhen conversation. Now, this isn't about claiming that Paul Onuachu is a better striker than Victor Osimhen. Most people would choose Osimhen. The numbers, performances, and market value all support that argument. Osimhen became a Serie A champion, established himself as one of Europe's elite forwards, and later continued proving himself at the highest level. But football discussions don't have to be one or the other. Acknowledging Osimhen's greatness shouldn't require ignoring another striker who kept scoring goals year after year. Unfortunately, that's often what happened. At one point, Onuachu was named Turkish Super Lig Player of the Month after scoring 8 goals in 12 appearances, making him the highest-scoring Nigerian player across Europe's major leagues during that stretch. Abroad, he was celebrated. At home, he often felt like an afterthought. Then came Southampton. For years, people had argued that he needed a move to the Premier League before they could truly judge him. A year later, Trabzonspor gave him a chance to rebuild. And once again, the goals returned. 15 goals in 21 league appearances. A hat-trick against Gaziantep. Confidence restored. The move became permanent in July 2025. Then came another outstanding season. 22 league goals. Joint top scorer in the Turkish Super Lig. Turkish Cup winner. Interest from Saudi Arabia. A major offer reported worth around 20 million euros. Trabzonspor said no. Think about that for a second. This wasn't a club desperately looking to cash in on an aging striker. This was a club looking at a 32-year-old forward and deciding he was worth keeping because they believed his value remained high. That says a lot about how he is viewed by the people who work with him every day. And when you zoom out, the bigger picture becomes difficult to ignore. 33 league goals in Belgium. 15 goals during his first spell in Turkey. 22 more in his latest title-chasing campaign. League titles in Denmark. Cup triumphs in Belgium. Cup triumphs in Turkey.
Different countries, different teammates, different systems, different stages of his career. At some point, consistency stops being luck. It becomes proof. Onuachu isn't simply a tall striker who scores headers. That's the lazy description. What actually makes him effective is how he uses his positioning. He often gains an advantage before the cross is even delivered. He can play with his back to goal, occupy defenders, create space for teammates, and finish with either foot. As one former Super Eagles player explained, he thrives as a traditional target man capable of leading the line alone or linking play with runners around him. When the system suits his strengths, he is remarkably reliable. The problem is that Nigeria rarely built a system that truly suited him. Instead, the team naturally evolved around Osimhen. And whenever difficult decisions had to be made, Onuachu was usually the one left watching. Then came November 2025. Rabat, Nigeria versus DR Congo. A World Cup playoff final carrying enormous pressure. Osimhen suffered an injury and was forced off at halftime with the game level. Nigeria searched for a breakthrough. The chances came, the chances went. Extra time couldn't separate the teams. Neither could 120 minutes of football. The match went to penalties. Calvin Bassey missed. Moses Simon missed. Semia J missed. DR Congo advanced. Nigeria's World Cup dream ended. Again. A nation blessed with extraordinary talent would miss the tournament for a second consecutive cycle. And Paul Onuachu wasn't there. Not on the pitch, not on the bench, not even in the squad. He was in Turkey preparing for another league match, continuing to do what he had done throughout his entire career. Score goals for a club that trusted him. Sometimes a player can spend years proving his quality and still struggle to earn the same recognition as others. Sometimes perception becomes stronger than performance. And maybe that's what makes Paul Onuachu's story so frustrating. No matter how many goals he scored, no matter how many trophies he won, it often felt like the verdict had already been delivered. People knew where they stood on him long before his best years arrived.